All right, what I want to run through here with the last couple of minutes that we do have are just some customer case studies. Hopefully, these can obviously be relevant to some of you and understand how some of our customers are leveraging Catchpoint. But before I get there, I want to show this slide. I like this slide mainly because it shows, the magnitude of the issues and the issues that could happen that our customers are dealing with, right? You don't control your user. You don't control where your users are coming from, what provider from an ISP perspective that they're leveraging. You don't control maybe their iPhone's an iPhone 10, right? You can't control that at the end of the day. And unfortunately, there's several of these Enzo's bakeries and organic delis on every corner of the globe, right? So hopefully this shows the magnitude of the, issues that could come out if you're not being resilient with something like an IPM platform. So going into that, if you are a digital user, which everyone in this room is, you leverage some sort of service that is being monitored by Catchpoint. 9 of the top 10 Forbes digital companies, all of the cloud providers are leveraging Catchpoint. 9 of the top 10 CDN providers are leveraging Catchpoint, and 7 of the top 10 publicly traded software companies by revenue are leveraging Catchpoint for internet resilience. This is just a quick slide showing the different verticals where obviously some of our customers sit. We've covered this a little earlier, but telco, internet infrastructure, essentially the companies that power the internet in every digital service that we use, financial services, and retail at the end of the day. Now, the first one I want to touch on here is SAP. I'm sure everyone knows SAP, but what we're referring to here is their Hybris Cloud platform that powers over 3,000, 4,000 different e-commerce sites out there in the world. Well, they started their journey with IPM in 2021. And if we fast forward to today, you can see how they've transformed from being reactive to proactive. So first thing there that you may see is time to identification. It went from 180 minutes to just 3 minutes, right? So they were taking about 180 minutes, that's a couple hours or so, to just identify what that issue might be that their users are experiencing. Their SLA violations, as Mehdi also touched on a little earlier, they were paying about 16%, or they were breaching 16% of their SLAs, and that has been lowered down to 0.1%. In today in 2024. What I also like to touch on there is the drop in total incidents per year, right? So that went from 25K to 2,000. That's a 20,000 drop or reduction in the amount of incidents that they have to deal with on a year-to-year basis.
And what was a big component of that? What you're able to share of that drop? I mean, was it
culture change?
It was culture change?
Culture change.
Okay, so
180-degree from passive to looking at just APM to...
Yeah, it's the proactive journey, definitely.
But I think the click was
right, but like when we talk about being proactive, I mean, and I know you've been describing this, but like for them, it was, well, that's not my problem versus now, well, I mean, this is common for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Even my kids, they're young, but like when they have information, have visibility and understanding, it changes that perception. So I mean, is that where you see?
I really do believe so. I think a different leader came, super laser focused on changing and improving, and not dealing with the status quo. And I really believe it's a culture change. Like people need to adopt a performance culture of like this, like it's not my fault, needs to stop. And I'm trying to find a nicer way of saying it, but just stop wasting everybody's time and take charge and do it. Or just,
Yeah, but I think to my point though, like we have this human nature. I've heard this. It's like, I didn't have any health problems until I went to my checkup. Right. And so, I mean, but we have a lot of IT organizations and a lot of development organizations who's like, like, I don't know that I really have a problem until I actually get a checkup.
But so, for example, at DoubleClick, one of the things that we did, our CIO was amazing. He tied our bonuses to availability, reliability, and performance, and everybody. So we had the pile of $2 million. Like, hey, Yeah, you want a piece of that?
As a motivation.
That's motivation. So you have to, I mean, the same way you have a sales team that goes and sell your product and you have commissions, I think there is nothing wrong with putting a commission plan for your IT organization around SLOs. What's wrong with that?
I dig it.
That's what most companies are doing now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit slow, but it needs to be adopted, in my opinion, much faster and much more. And it needs to be a big pie, not the tiny pie. Not like here's $500 because you did a good job.
Well, to that though, right? As you start doing that, people will work to the behavior that they're being incentivized to, but having
Go back
the
to
capability to understand where the issues are, what you've done to remediate or to avoid, negative
Right.
incidents and things. I'm like, that's really
I
helpful.
mean, being able to go from 300-minute mean time to repair to 20 minutes,
Yeah.
I would give a bonus to this guy.
Right. And the SLO is the company's North Star.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
100%. Yeah.
So-
Especially with some of these companies where, like the company's value only is based on the transactions that they can they can handle.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's a culture. We need to encourage this culture of performance. We need to celebrate that. We need to, instead of talking about, I told you earlier, instead of talking about, this publicly shaming companies, we should create an Oscar ceremony, the same way you have these tech field days, where we should promote companies that have done amazing transformation from a performance, availability, and whatever perspective. But it can't be a company like Catchpoint because it's like, well, you're biased, right? You want to sell more stuff. But I think there is room for companies such as yours to be able to say, you know what, we need to create some kind of award for the best performance or the best SLO improvement in the planet.
Talk to us about it.
You have my number.
I know.
Thank you, everyone.
I mean, we do that in security, though. Right? You look at companies like Target.
Yeah.
Or who was the consumer agency that got whacked? They all did, but
Yeah, the
really big.
healthcare one.
The healthcare one recently.
United.
No, the credit reporting agency.
Oh yeah, which one?
FICO or
They all got
Equinet,
Equifax.
Yep.
Right, but look at what their new CISO and team have done. You want to talk about a transformation?
Yes, you see, so what the thing I've been screaming out of my lungs is the same way we added the chief security officer, there needs to be a chief resilience officer at the
Yes.
table. Because if you don't have that, then it's just like blah, 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 SLA, whatever. There needs to be a chief resilience officer. I was that at DoubleClick. I became the VP of quality of service. That was my job. I was holding the CIO accountable in front of our board. You need to have that.